Welcome to today's webinar in the ASPPH Presents webinar series. This is the MPH degree, Transitioning to 21st Century Models. The webinar will last for 1 hour and will be archived for later playback. My name is Liz Weiss, Director of Education at the Association of Schools and Programs of Public Health. The webinar is sponsored by the Framing the Future, the second 100 Years of Public Health, a national consensus effort undertaken by the Association of Schools and Programs of Public Health with hundreds of public health and practice partners as well as partners from other sectors and disciplines. I will now turn over the webinar to my colleague Sarah Weiner to go over logistical details.
Thank you, Liz. This webinar is part of the 2016 ASPPH Presents monthly series, which has been designed as a service to CEPH-accredited ASPPH member schools and programs of public health. A few housekeeping items of note. While you are in listen-only mode and your lines have been muted, we encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation by using the question box. We will address your questions at the end of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded, and it will be available on the ASPPH website in the archived webinar section soon. Additionally, this webinar has been approved for 1 hour of CPH continuing education credit. Liz, I'll turn it back to you to introduce today's moderator.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm really pleased to have with us today our moderator, Ms. Ruth Gar-Bernheim, JD, MPH. Ms. Bernheim is the William Hobson Professor and Chair, the Department of Public Health Sciences in the School of Medicine at the University of Virginia. In addition, she is a council member of the Council on Education for Public Health. Welcome, Ruth.
Thank you, Liz. I'd like to offer my own warm welcome to everyone today. These are exciting times in public health schools and programs. We all know there's this new spirit of and energy for innovation in MPH education. So we are delighted that you will be part of our conversation. We will explore some new innovation ideas with our presenters today, and we look forward to hearing your questions and comments at the end. But before we proceed to the presentations, we thought it would be helpful to just give you a quick context. I'm sure everyone knows that there has been a remarkable process going on throughout public health education and with led by the schools and programs of public health with Framing the Future. It's a process that has involved many people from all walks of life and public health training, and we are excited to say the MPH expert panel was produced as part of that, which reflected on how MPH program may sort of move in the future. We also have drawn on a blue ribbon expert panel of employers. So all of this has been taking place over the last 2 or 3 years, and we now are working on together, the profession and educators are working together on new criteria, SEEF criteria, that will be based on the Framing the Future. The process, as you know, has been underway since March 2015. We have, I think, the next 4th draft will come out in July. It's still time for us to have feedback to the process, and we expect the new criteria to be announced in October 2016. As you know, if you've been part of the process all along, the ideas driving this have been exploring creativity and innovation and flexibility in our program. So we're very excited that the innovation has begun already, and we have 2 examples of these innovations in curricula will be explored today, and we have 2 presenters who are sort of leading those efforts in the different schools. So I think Liz will now, as soon as we have the takeaways, present those panelists. But just so you know, we will have 2 examples of practical frameworks for curricular change that sort of began even before the new criteria as part of the process of Framing the Future, reflect upon how the content and processes are highlighted in relating to innovating one's own MPH degree, so we look forward to hearing from you. And we will describe successful methods for engaging faculty and building a shared vision for transitions in your own program. It's been remarkable to see how this innovation has been from around the country, and now those of us in programs and schools have to take it home and work with our own faculty. So it is great that we have the opportunity to hear from two folks who have been doing it already. So Liz?
Thank you, Ruth. I'm pleased to introduce our two presenters for today. First, we have Lorraine M. Conroy, SCD, CIH. Dr. Conroy is the Senior Associate Dean and Professor Environmental and Occupational Health Science at the University of Illinois at Chicago School of Public Health. Catherine M. Cardarelli, PhD, is the Associate Dean of Academic and Student Affairs and Associate Professor of Health Behavior at the University of Kentucky College of Public Health. So I know you all will join me in welcoming our presenters for today. And Dr. Conroy, you can take it away.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Today I'm going to describe the development and implementation of an integrated core curriculum in our MPH program. I'm first going to talk about the development and evaluation of the integrated core, and then I'll finish with the implementation and some of the lessons we learned from this effort. We began this process in 2008. It sprung from a series of faculty conversations observing that many students that had been successful in all of their coursework were struggling when it came time to put it all together for their capstone or final project. We also observed that students viewed core courses outside their discipline as courses to check off their list. That is, they didn't see how these courses related to their interests or career goals. Also, since at least some of the courses were not prerequisites for any of their required discipline-specific courses, they often left these courses till the end of their program. At the same time, we had recently launched a significantly revised DRPH program, which is now an online, school-wide program in leadership targeted at mid-career public health practitioners. And we're introducing a BA degree in public health, also a broad school-wide degree with strong emphasis on health equity and critical thinking and problem solving. So it's in this context that in 2008, the School of Public Health Dean appointed an academic strategic planning committee to critically examine the school's academic programs with the initial focus on the MPH degree, which is the largest degree program in our School of Public Health, and it has not changed substantially since the school's early years. The committee was asked to pay particular attention to curricular coordination and integration of the MPH program across all 4 divisions. The committee started by exploring options for an integrated core curriculum reflective of real-world experiences. We examined other schools of public health. We brainstormed what an ideal MPH would look like. We obtained faculty feedback at division and school-wide faculty meetings, collected input from individual faculty, conducted focus groups with students and alumni, and evaluated our exit survey data. Students complete the exit survey just before graduation. The results of the exit survey and focus group analyses showed that the traditional MPH curriculum was not really reaching our goals, particularly in areas of integration such as demonstrating multidisciplinary approaches to solving public health problems, reading and synthesizing the scientific literature, framing a research question, conducting basic data analysis, and preparing for subsequent School of Public Health classes. We solicited faculty input at a school-wide faculty meeting where we asked each faculty member to reflect on these 6 dimensions and to mark the point on the continuum that represents their perspective with respect to an ideal MPH program. The faculty were split on whether the MPH degree should be division-specific or a school-wide degree offering, whether there should be a prescribed core or a multi-option core curriculum, and whether we should provide generalist or specialist training. However, there was considerably more agreement on the other 3 dimensions. Faculty generally agreed that the core curriculum should be integrated, should be taken early in the program, and should use case-based or problem-based methods. This slide shows the integrated and traditional core curricula. The integrated core curriculum replaces the 6 traditional core courses with 3 new integrated team-taught courses. I'm not going to go through the details of the courses, but I can answer questions about that. But I'm going to talk about the implementation. So we implemented the pilot phase of the curriculum in fall of 2013. This was about the same time that the Framing the Future's activities were underway. We reviewed the Framing the Future report that was released in 2014, and there was considerable alignment with what our local stakeholders told us and the curricular changes we were making. So we felt like we were on the right track. For the pilot testing, we hired consultants from the College of Education to assist with the evaluation. We limited the pilot phase to full-time on-campus students. These make up about 2/3 of all MPH students at UIC. Students were asked to opt into the pilot test. In the first year, by opting in, students agreed to be randomly assigned to either the traditional curriculum or the integrated curriculum. This experiment was to test the outcomes from both curricula. In the second year, all students opting in were assigned to the integrated core in order to test scale-up of the courses to larger class sizes. The evaluation plan included an annual survey of students in the traditional and integrated core curriculum, as well as faculty teaching in the core courses for both groups. We also conducted focus groups with students and faculty and examined course evaluation questionnaires and exit surveys. We conducted surveys and focus groups for Cohort 1 in their first and second year, and for Cohort 2 in the first year of the program. Our results, briefly, were quantitative. The quantitative results showed that the integrated core students reported higher levels of self-reported ability for preparation for subsequent courses, to work across areas of public health, their ability to read, synthesize, and interpret scientific studies, to frame and pursue researchable questions, to perform data analysis relative to public health problems, and to identify and apply theories and models to solve public health. These were all significantly higher in our integrated core students than the traditional core students. The integrated core students also reported that peer group support, group work, other class opportunities, and being taught by a team of faculty contributed positively to their academic growth. Integrated students qualitatively also reported more exposure to instructors' sharing of personal and professional experiences, which resonated with the students. They reported that they benefited greatly from and enjoyed progressing through the curriculum with the same cohort. During the focus groups, some traditional core students actually reported that in subsequent courses where integrated core and traditional core students were now in the same class, they felt that the pilot students had an unfair advantage, their words, and had additional learning opportunities that traditional core students had not had. The logistics of this was stretched over several years. So the complete phase-in of the integrated core began in academic year 13-14. This was the first year of the pilot phase. We increased the size of the integrated core cohort to close to 50 students in 14-15. And added a second section of each integrated course in academic year 15-16. We will be introducing an online section for each course starting this fall to accommodate part-time on-site students and our online students. Students that enter the program and are in the traditional core curriculum will have until the end of academic year 16-17 to complete their core courses. And the traditional core courses will not be offered after spring of 2017. This initiative required substantial investment of resources. We provided faculty salary either as a reduced teaching load or additional salary for 2 instructors to develop the initial version of each of the 3 courses, so 6 faculty total. We contracted with the consultants to provide evaluation expertise. We provided funds for faculty development in active teaching and case-based teaching, some of which was provided by bringing experts to the School of Public Health, and in other cases by sending faculty to courses off-site. We've provided salary support to the divisions for teaching the integrated core courses and the traditional core courses throughout the evaluation period and transition period to cover the impact of parallel curricula. We also provided salary support to faculty to convert core courses to online format, again, 3 pairs of instructors. These instructors are working closely with instructional designers from UIC, the Instructional Technology Lab. Right now, the use of the ITL instructional designers is provided by the campus without charge. So the challenges that we faced, and there were lots of them, were, I'm going to talk a little bit about each, and then some lessons that we learned. So faculty buy-in was probably the biggest challenge. Even with efforts to get input from faculty, many faculty felt that this initiative was pushed onto the divisions. They expressed concerns that the courses would not prepare students sufficiently for subsequent classes, and that the changes in pedagogy would be less effective and too difficult for most faculty. The pilot phase of the program was included to address some of these concerns. A lesson learned here was that we needed more faculty engaged in the process. The Academic Strategic Planning Committee was a small group, although it did have representatives from each division. A larger group may have slowed down the process some, but would have truly engaged more faculty from the beginning. So I think the take-home lesson here was that periodic input is not the same as engagement. In terms of logistics, cohorting students and expecting them to take 10 semester hours of core courses in their first semester had ripple effects on the division and concentration requirements throughout the entire curriculum. This required some programs or concentrations to move courses to the second semester. Additionally, accommodating part-time and online students required us to develop online versions of the courses. In the case of the Analytic Methods course, the online version will be stretched over 2 semesters to accommodate part-time students. So the lesson here learned here is that programmatic changes of this size require a lot of planning and multiple years of lead-in. In terms of co-teaching, we required faculty to work across divisions to develop and teach these courses. There was considerable negotiating and tensions to protect disciplinary content in the new courses. Additionally, instructors were expected to be in class during each class period. That is, unlike other team-taught courses where instructors may take turns in the classroom, these courses require that the instructors work as a team throughout each class session. Selecting the correct teams has been and continues to be a challenge. There are, however, considerable benefits achieved through co-teaching that I'll talk about in a minute. The final challenge I'll talk about today was attaining fidelity across course sections. We really wanted to maintain the fidelity of learning experiences. The instructors for each course meet regularly across sections to try to keep the class sessions, assignments, guest speakers, etc. aligned. We believe we've been successful in this with the 2 sections of on-site courses, on-site courses. We're anticipating some challenges, but we're hoping that our processes will address this as we roll out the online versions of each course. We have observed and expect to see a number of benefits, though, from this process. So we've had numerous benefits. The most important is that the educational experience for MPH students is improved. Again, the evaluation results show that students were better prepared for subsequent courses and to work across areas of public health. They reported that peer group support, group work, active classrooms, and being taught by a team of faculty contributed positively to their academic experience. Another benefit is interdisciplinary interaction among faculty on each of the integrated core course teams. Beginning in fall 2016, there will be 9 interdisciplinary teams. Beyond the pairs assigned to each section, the 4 on-site instructors for each course have regular interaction, again across sections, to review and improve course delivery to ensure that students are receiving a similar educational experience. We expect that these interactions will extend to the online teams as well. A side benefit from this interdisciplinary interaction has been that faculty now know intimately the work of their colleagues in other divisions, and this has led to additional collaborative opportunities and some research projects from these teams. Another additional benefit is the streamlined number of course offerings, which has resulted in more predictable enrollment in each section because students are required to take courses in order and in the first 2 semesters. We've also seen an increase in the number of students taking elective courses outside of their home department, increasing their interdisciplinary experiences. A final benefit is that this process and the success of the students in this program has prompted at least 2 divisions to examine the division and concentration curricula. It's also made it easier to begin discussions about other improvements that we may want to achieve in all of our degree programs. And I just wanted to acknowledge everyone who has worked on this and supported this initiative, and to thank you all for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Conroy. Terrific experience that you've had integrating your MPH core curriculum. Really appreciate your sharing that with everyone on this webinar. While we are going to take questions and comments after the next presentation, go ahead. If you have any questions or comments on Dr. Conroy's presentation of their experiences at UIC, go ahead and put them into the question box there in the pull-down panel on your screen, and we will address them as soon as the next presentation is completed. I am pleased to invite Dr. Cardarelli to make her presentation at this time.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you for the opportunity to share the University of Kentucky experience. I'm going to share with you all today the redesign of a health behavior concentration in our Master of Public Health program. So our moderator already has shared some context today regarding framing the future, and the MPH for the 21st century was, of course, one of the reports that that group developed. And I've excerpted here some of the recommendations from their MPH report to provide some context for the curricular reform that I'm going to present today. Part of the report describes that concentration curricula should be designed to provide rigorous, in-depth, skills-based education that employers are demanding. It also speaks to the culminating experience, stating that the culminating experience should provide opportunities for applied learning, interdisciplinary content, and the integration of concepts and skills. So these clearly emphasize the content that aligns with applied knowledge and skills that employers seek and provides the backdrop. So just to provide a little bit of background here, in the University of Kentucky, our College of Public Health Health Behavior faculty began having discussions in early academic year 2014, and even perhaps a little prior to that, about the relevance and the level of contemporariness of the curriculum and whether or not we were adequately preparing our health behavior concentrators for the workforce. So it was in that spirit that a small group of faculty formed a curriculum committee to take a look at health behavior concentration curricula across other schools of public health, take a look at workforce reports, and there were some major reports that were produced around that time. And they determined that there was a need to redesign the entire curriculum to assure that the content was relevant for public health workforce needs. And they also determined that the culminating experience, the capstone, needed a redesign as well. The focus shifted explicitly to an applied, evidence-based public health programming and evaluation. I want to emphasize that the work that I am presenting today is not mine, but it is that of a very dedicated group of faculty who self-identified to work together to redesign this concentration curriculum. Robin Vanderpool, Corinne Williams led this effort. Tina Stutes, Kate Edens, and Mark Swanson also contributed. And I wanted you all to see their faces because this is an amazing group of faculty who worked very closely together, not only to redesign the curriculum, but to assure that their newly designed courses were appropriately coordinated and integrated to prepare students for the specific elements that were required by the redesigned capstone. So, as I mentioned, the emphasis of the new concentration curricula moved away from the old topical courses to methods-focused courses that were sequential in nature. It was designed explicitly for a 2-year completion of the MPH in health behavior. And the capstone, as I mentioned, was shifted entirely. The old capstone was focused on somewhat of a traditional thesis capstone. It was focused on preparing a manuscript for publication that required defining a research question, conducting statistical analyses, etc. And this new capstone project is intended to familiarize students with the rigors of preparing evidence-based public health grant applications, as well as to defend the grant application orally. So this capstone, as I'll describe in greater detail in just a few minutes, requires the student to define a target population and health need in a community, to choose an evidence-based intervention, to develop a logic model, design a rigorous program evaluation, prepare a budget and a budget justification, describe needed public health partnerships to implement their program, and articulate program management strategies. So the students for their capstone have to put together a grant application from the perspective of a community organization. They might be in a nonprofit, an FQHC, or a public health department, for example. And these skills are intended to prepare the student for professional service or research careers in public health. So the Foundations of Health Behavior is our core health behavior MPH course that all MPH students have to take. Health behavior concentrators also must take an ethics course, as well as a course on eliminating racial and ethnic health disparities. The new courses that are focused on methods are fourfold, and that would include the capstone. So in their first semester, when they matriculate, they take a course on measuring health behavior. And in this course, students learn to locate, evaluate, and select measurement instruments for health behavior using a socio-ecologic framework. Students also learn in this course how to construct the measurement section of a grant proposal. In their second semester, they take evidence-based public health planning and practice. This course is designed to equip students with the ability to apply behavioral science theory in order to develop, implement, and evaluate public health programs. Students learn in this course community assessment, intervention mapping, how to develop a work plan, and they're also introduced to concepts such as balancing adaptation versus fidelity. In their third semester, they're taking a research and evaluation methods course, and in this course, students have nearly weekly assignments that require them to complete sections of their capstone paper. So by the end of this course, which is fall of their second year, students should have completed approximately half of their capstone. In this course, students are exposed to program evaluation topics that include various study designs, community-based participatory research, sampling, and statistical analysis. And then their second year spring semester, they're completing their capstone. Again, they should have completed approximately half in the previous semester, and that last semester is focused on pulling together that grant application. This course is truly a synthesis of all the required courses. And in this course, they're instructed on how to respond appropriately to different requests for proposals. They also must practice their capstone defense in front of the class, receive feedback from not only their peers, but also other faculty. And we found that this aspect in particular dramatically improved their ability. Liz, my webinar just disappeared, or Sarah. I can continue going if you all can see it. I know I tried to link back in and it says it's having difficulty. I can continue to talk if someone can advance for me.
Okay, give me a sec, okay? Sorry.
No problem. I can advance. No problem. I can advance for you. I'm here. This is Sarah.
Okay. So we're moving on to the slide that says redesign capstone, the grant application.
Great. Got it.
these are the elements that the students have to complete in their capstone, which is a document as well as the oral defense that I mentioned. They have to define their target population and needs. They obviously have to identify which community organization they're affiliated with in terms of applying for a grant. They have to identify and justify the evidence-based intervention that they're proposing to use. They also have to describe how they might adapt it for their particular population. They have to develop a logic model, which for me was my favorite part of this, because I was truly impressed with the sophistication and the understanding that the students demonstrated in their defense of the logic model and how that works. They have to also design a rigorous program evaluation. They are given a certain amount of money for a budget. They have to prepare that budget and the justification and present that as well. They have to identify members of a community advisory group and explain how those members are selected and how they will assist with the implementation of the program. And then they have to describe their project management plan, who's going to do what, and how will all of this come to fruition. Okay, advance, Sarah. So in spring of 2016, literally last month, we just completed our first cohort of students with the redesigned curriculum and the redesigned capstone. Students had to present their grant application in 20 minutes. And they had to also submit the document, which could not exceed 30 pages, and then they had a number of appendices, including their logic model and their budget and justification. Okay? So because of how recent this first experience was, our evaluation data at this point is somewhat limited, but I did want to share some reaction from students and faculty on the experience. So initially, when the cohort of students learned that their capstone would be different from those of previous cohorts, their reaction was what you might expect. They were scared due to uncertainty of expectations, and some even expressed resentment at the prospect of being the guinea pigs for the new capstone. But and I also want to clarify that the cohort that just graduated in spring 16 learned in fall 15 that their capstone would look different. So they received their request for application document in fall of 15 that laid out all the elements of their capstone. Once the students understood that they had been prepared for the new capstone in their previous 2 semesters of required courses, the anxiety was somewhat diminished. After presenting the capstone, though, we saw a lot of confidence in the students, and students clearly demonstrated in their capstone defense, in particular the oral defense, that they could sort of connect the dots across all of the required courses. So these are just a couple of quotes that were taken from the course evaluation. For the first year having the course with a mock proposal, I thought it was very thorough and a comprehensive class, and I was confident walking into my defense. And it was so real. I know that I will use the skills from capstone throughout my career. And in our exit survey, we heard similar comments. On the faculty side, of particular note, the post-capstone competency assessment that the capstone committee members completed demonstrated dramatic improvement in spring 16 compared to spring 2015. The faculty were very excited about that. And I thought I would include, this is literally a quote from an email that one of the health behavior faculty sent to all of the faculty to express her excitement and enthusiasm. And she sent this after she sat in on several capstone defense practice sessions. I am incredibly impressed. What I saw today were presentations that achieved exactly what we were aiming for. Evidence that our students can identify and describe a target population with a specific health issue, that they can locate and describe an evidence-based public health intervention, that they understand the adaptation versus fidelity tension, that they can conceptualize a logic model to communicate what they will do and what endpoints they expect to influence, that they can differentiate and describe process and outcome evaluations, that they can thoughtfully identify community representatives and stakeholders for community advisory groups, that they can develop project management and implementation plans, that they can understand how important organizational capacity is, and that they have learned how challenging budget development is. It is no overstatement that my heart is full. And I included that quote because I also thought it demonstrated how student-centric these faculty are. So to conclude, we held a feedback session just last month with the students who completed the capstone and the new curriculum. And we also held a half-day faculty retreat last month to talk about how we can further streamline the capstone. And there was general agreement across students and faculty that was needed. And we always feel that there's a way to better integrate the required course content. We're going to continue to evaluate the new curriculum through monitoring our workforce preparedness satisfaction among alumni. And the final takeaway that I wanted to leave you all with is that I do believe that part of the real novelty of what I've presented today is that this came from the faculty. And in order to implement a highly integrated concentration curriculum, probably the biggest key ingredient that you'll need is a willingness and a desire to coordinate among faculty across the different courses. And my last slide is just a photo I wanted to sneak in to identify some of our amazing students at University of Kentucky. So with that, I will end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cardarelli. Back to Liz here. Really appreciate both of your presentations. There are a number of questions in the question box, and we'd like to refer you again to the question box to put in any additional questions or comments as well that have come up during the two presentations. We're going to spend the last 20 minutes enabling a conversation amongst our moderator and our two presenters in responding to your questions and making comments as it relates to integrating one's core MPH curriculum and as well redesigning the health behavior curriculum in another school of public health. So Dr. Cardarelli, a couple questions for you starting off here, and then we'll ask some more questions to you, Dr. Conroy. I'd like to ask the questioners, please, when you submit future questions, I can figure out pretty well to whom you're addressing the question, but if you could indicate for the UK presenter or for the UIC presenter, maybe use first presenter or second presenter, that will help us direct the questions accordingly. So Dr. Cardarelli for the University of Kentucky Innovation, here's the first one. Grant applications for MPH students seem a bit extreme because typically the PhDs write grants, unless perhaps for department health projects. Any thoughts regarding that?
Great question. And I just have to say, Liz, I finally got the webinar back up after I was finished.
Oh, good.
I'm glad that question was asked because it gives me an opportunity to clarify. The grant application that these students are writing is not a research questions grant. So they don't have a hypothesis. This application defines a target population and a health need, identifies an evidence-based program for implementation in the community. They do have to include an evaluation plan, but it is not a research-based grant application. I hope that clarifies.
Okay, great. And if you do have follow-up questions, put them in your box and we'll come back to them. Thank you. Your next question, Dr. Cardarelli, is how many credit hours for each new course?
So each of these courses are 3 credit hour courses. Okay. And I also will say that the capstone credit hours did not change.
Okay. Dr. Conroy, a few questions for you here. First is, why didn't you include online students in the pilot?
Mostly because the initial offerings of the courses were on site. So the development of the online sections of the courses is actually happening now and will be implemented in the next academic year. And as I said, about 2/3 of our students are full-time on-site students. So we started with that group and are extending the program now to the full cohort.
Okay, great. Next question for you, Dr. Conroy. Can you please tell us the name and the scope of the 3 courses? And Sarah, if you could go back, I think there is a slide that that does indicate the names, and that's maybe Dr. Conroy's 10th, 8th, or 10th slide. Is that correct, Dr. Conroy?
Yes.
That it's there? Okay.
So I had prepared some to talk about this, so I can answer that pretty easily. I just, in the interest of time, cut some of this out. So we have 3 courses. One is called Analytic and Research Methods, which integrates epidemiology and biostatistics to provide an overview of approaches to data collection and analysis and major data sources. It's a 6-semester-hour course that's co-taught by faculty in epidemiology and biostatistics, and it meets twice a week for 3 hours per class. And it includes both instructor presentations and labs where students apply the content and develop skills, and it uses problem and case learning approaches. The second course, which is also a fall first semester course, is Determinants of Population Health, and that introduces students to how where one is born, lives, learns, plays, works, and ages influences overall health and health outcomes. And it provides an overview of the determinants of health, including the biological, social, environmental, economic, and structural determinants, while also instilling public health content and knowledge related to hazards, exposure, risk, behavior, and place. This is a 4-semester-hour course, and it's co-taught by faculty in community health sciences and environmental and occupational health sciences. And again, those 2 courses are taken in the first semester. And the third course is Public Health Systems Management and Policy, and this course builds on the knowledge developed during the first semester and provides an introduction to foundational content in management and policy. The course utilizes problem-based learning focused on a task, and in this case they use accreditation of a public health department as their task, and they address this incrementally over the semester. So they learn about community health assessment, community health improvement, organizational planning and management, program planning and evaluation, and policy development. This is also a 4-semester-hour course, and it's co-taught by faculty in community health sciences and health policy and administration.
Thank you, Dr. Conroy. We're going to stay on this slide for the third question to you. It reads, you have a 3-course sequence. Do you use summer sessions? And if so, how do you schedule around summers?
So we actually do not have a lot of summer offerings. When we had in our traditional core, we have a few courses that are taught online in the summertime, but in general, we don't have a lot of courses in the summer. Our faculty are on 9-month contracts. Most students use the summer for their field practicum, or at least to begin their field practicum. So we have not structured these courses to use the summer session.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Dr. Cardarelli. This question has to do with the student. Does the student work with a community agency as they prepare their proposals?
No, they don't, but they are encouraged to talk to community agencies to understand the context of what they're proposing. Many of our students we saw identified as belonging to a community organization that was from their hometown, so they had some sort of context for it. Others identified as working with a community organization where they may have completed their practicum. And those students that were building off of their practicum, you could definitely identify sort of an extra level of energy because they had that shared understanding of the organization. But they did have free reign to identify an organization. Now, of course, they're working closely with their capstone director as well as their thesis or their capstone advisor. So there were 2 instructors that taught the capstone course in the spring, and they essentially split the students so that they had a shared number. The students as well had a capstone topical advisor that they were assigned to in fall of 15, and so they were working with 2 primary faculty as they progress through their capstone. And then the other two members of their capstone committee sort of came in towards the end to provide additional sets of eyes. But they really had a lot of free reign for which community organization they could identify. We encouraged them to get to know that organization.
Great. A couple more questions for you, Dr. Cardarelli. Here's a comment first. Capstone, great presentation. Looks a lot like Brownson et al. Evidence-based public health text. And as a side note, Ross Brownson's at the WashU University. And the person's asking, is that correct? Did you base it off Brownson's evidence-based public health text?
So great question, and anyone that's watching that knows some of our faculty who are involved in this might notice that a couple of our faculty did work with Dr. Brownson, and some continue to work with him, so there was clearly an inspiration there. I have the syllabus for the evidence-based public health course, and the textbook that they're currently using is by Arlene Fink. So it's entitled Evidence-Based Public Health Practice by Arlene Fink.
Okay, great. And then here is a follow-up to you, Dr. Cardarelli. Did I miss it in the redesigned capstone data analysis using the biostatistical skills?
Yes, that is in there. Of course, these students have completed one course in biostatistics by the time they get to their research methods course. But in the research methods course, there are topics such as sampling, measurement. There's several classes on statistical analysis, and that's quantitative. But there's an additional couple of sessions on qualitative research and analysis as well. You know, I want to emphasize that although this is a section in their grant application, they really are not required as health behavior concentrators to engage in any kind of sophisticated statistical analyses for their capstone.
Okay, excellent. Next several questions back to you, Dr. Conroy. Are the integrated core courses managed centrally, or is management shared between the divisions that are teaching the courses?
It's managed as a shared model. So our traditional core courses were managed by the divisions. Each was responsible for contributing one or two courses to the core, but the integrated core is now managed in a shared way.
Okay. Next question for you again. Wondering how the new program at UIC has attracted students.
So I think it's a little soon to figure that out because we've only had it in place as special topics courses, and we've graduated now, I guess, 2 groups of students, but we expect that it will attract students that are looking for more application and applied courses. One of the things we have noticed, though, through this course and the fact that students take all of this discipline content early in their curriculum is that students move around within the school a lot more. So we have students transferring, thinking, well, I had never thought about being an epidemiologist, but now that I'm, seeing how it works, I'm interested in moving in that direction. We've had students move into environmental health or into community health. So that part has been really nice to see, that students sort of find their place during the first semester.
Great. Next 2 questions for you, Dr. Conroy, relate to the co-teaching aspect of your integration. Let's say a 4-credit-hour class with 2 faculty. How is teaching credit assigned? 2 credit hours for each faculty or 4 credit hours for each faculty? Please explain.
So we're in the process of a separate initiative of trying to evaluate overall workload and how we assign course credit, because some of our courses are 4 semester hours, some are 2, some are big classes, some are small classes, so there's an ongoing effort on that. But at the moment, our teaching load is 3 or 4 courses. We don't actually do it by credit hour right now, and each of these counts as 1 course for each instructor. Even though they're co-taught, because the faculty are expected to really team teach in each class session. The exception is the methods course, which is actually a 6-semester hour course. Each of those instructors is given 1.5 course credits for co-teaching that.
Okay, great. This next question you may have answered, but I'm going to pose it anyway since it may have some subtle differences. Here goes. How is the workload for co-teaching the integrated core courses estimated/rewarded? Is co-teaching a core course counted equal to, more than, or less than a traditional sole faculty taught course?
I think it's, in terms of that, it's counted for the determinants class and the systems and management and policy course. It counts as one course, the same as if we were teaching it counts as one course each, the same as if you were teaching a traditional core course by yourself. And again, the methods, they get a little bit more because it's a 6-hour course.
Okay, very good. Ms. Bernheim, this is for an idea, questions regarding a future webinar, so I'll pose it now and see if you have any comments. For the future, is there anyone who can speak to the needs of redesigning epidemiology MPH programs? Most of the jobs center around doing analysis and methods. Should there be 2 methods courses besides an SAS course? Capstone ideas. If someone could address that, it would be wonderful. Thank you. Ms. Bernheim, if you're on, we can't hear you.
I am so sorry. Sorry, Liz. I didn't. First of all, we break up. Yes, I believe that as the process continues, we will be exploring more webinars like this, and that sharing curricular ideas is key to the continuation of the Framing the Future process. So this, I think, webinar today is a great illustration of how much we can learn from each other and how we're all out there trying new things, and to the extent that we can be inspired and then use your lessons and takeaways, that will help us all. So I think it would be great if ASPPH, we will look into this, can launch other related webinars for the particular fields or particular foci. I mean, I think another area too that we might talk about in the future, I'd be interested to know if our other our presenters had any feedback, are the materials and how the faculty work together to create new materials, and how we might be interested in sharing cases or books. We talked about a book today that was helpful. Do you have any feedback on how much work faculty have spent like creating new materials, the content of our courses?
This is Katie. There's no question that our faculty put a great deal of work into this, and they did so through half-day meetings. I tried to emphasize earlier, this is a pretty close-knit group of faculty. They really enjoy spending time with each other. So that helps when you're engaging in these sorts of dramatic shifts in your curriculum. But as I mentioned earlier in response to another question, a couple of these faculty had a significant amount of experience specifically in evidence-based public health practice, and felt that it was important to take the time to do this right, to redesign the curriculum.
Thank you.
I think there have been a number of new materials and cases that have come out of this. I'm not familiar with the details of most of that. I teach in the determinants class, and it's we're using the WHO framework about where people are born, work, live. But mostly it's a series of readings that change from semester to semester.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's great. There are plenty more questions in the box here. Here's one for all 3 of you. An increasing number of public health graduates are entering less traditional public health career fields, such as for-profit, industry, consulting, pharmaceuticals, insurance, technology. Fewer and fewer seem to be entering governmental public health, but most workforce studies are 100% focused on the needs of the government public health workforce. How are you assessing the needs of employers from these new sectors? Also, how do you currently survey the employers who are actually hiring your graduates?
Well, this is Ruth Bernheim. We have drawn on the Blue Ribbon panel that included folks well beyond the government workforce, but acknowledge that many of our graduates are finding great opportunities, particularly with healthcare reform. We have many stakeholders who are involved and engaged in population health now. So the overlay of health system population health and public health is greater, providing many, many more exciting opportunities. So we engage them in our advisory board outreach, that we have community members from both health systems and from insurance plans that we engage in from our local or regional area. I'd be interested to know if Lorraine and Katie also look to an expanded workforce as well.
This is Katie. Yes, we have, through participation in public health training centers, engaged in workforce needs. We also, conduct alumni surveys to try to understand where our alumni are employed and whether we've prepared them adequately for it. One other comment, though, quickly, with regard to are we exclusively preparing students or exclusively focused on preparing students for public health practice? I would argue that the development of a grant application is not just a very relevant and marketable skill for an MPH graduate, but it also employs, if you sort of zoom out on the whole process, it really is focused on enhancing critical thinking skills. If you think about a logic model, just as one example, yes, it's a nice skill to have, but it's the process of putting that together and critically examining and having others critically examine a logic model that helps us to sort of fine-tune those critical thinking skills that we know employers want.
So we collect information on employer needs in a lot of different ways, similar to what I think Ruth described and Katie. We have a number of advisory boards, one at the school level and then several within our specific programs. I don't think we have actually, at least our students are not, for many years our students have not always gone to governmental, so I don't think it's a recent phenomena for us that we have to address the needs of a very broad workforce. I actually am trained in industrial hygiene, and I would say that at least half of our students go to work for industry or labor unions and not for government out of that program. So, for forever we've been training them for non-government jobs.
Mm-hmm. And just to emphasize again, I think the employers that we know of and are out there appreciate the kind of analytic skills and the data science skills and and research methods or analysis that we bring, so that I believe the workforce appreciates all that an MPH student brings to the table, and we have no problem demonstrating their value added.
Excellent. Thank you all. If you could each address in 30 seconds or less, we only have a couple minutes. This is a really great question, and there are plenty more questions as well, and we will ask the presenters to address the answers to the remaining questions post-webinar and make those available so you could see what they think. This one has to do with admitting both types of students, those who come from an undergrad public health program versus a non-public health undergraduate program, and that this presents a challenge. Some students feel the MPH program is a repeat of the undergrad program. How do you differentiate undergrad from grad level classes? Dr. Cardarelli, can we start with you?
I have a big smile on my face because we have a relatively new Bachelor of Public Health program. It's been operating for about 2 years now, and we just graduated our first BPH students who will be entering our MPH program in the fall. And so these are the exact discussions that we are having throughout our department. I don't have a quick 30-second answer, although there are certainly different levels of demonstrating competency that we've tried to focus in on. But also, we're literally pulling syllabi for the 2 courses side by side, working with each department and critically discussing, how the content and or the evaluation needs to maybe change in one or more of the different levels.
Great. Dr. Conroy.
So we we've had similar discussions, and we also have a DRPH degree. So we're trying to sort out, as Dr. Cardarelli just said, what the distinctive features of an MPH program are relative to the BA, and then also relative to the DRPH. I think we have done a good job of sorting out the level of competency and the expectations at each level, and have built our curriculum to meet those needs. But we will be looking at that as the CEIF criteria also evolve, where they're also sort of looking at this articulation between the 3 levels of degrees.
Thank you. Ms. Bernheim, how about at UVA?
Just a 2-second. We're focusing on outcomes, I think, as Lorraine and Katie suggested, that certainly content area and basic EPI is one thing, but what you expect students to do with that material and their outcome is the differentiator. But we all struggle with it, but that's why it's wonderful to have these kind of webinars. So thank you, Liz and ASPPH, for organizing them for us.
Terrific. Thank you. And I went to that question in particular because ASPPH has launched a baccalaureate to master's work group under our education committee, which is working as we speak to develop, explore that very issue. So stay tuned at some point in the next year or so for results of that group. Sarah, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you again to our moderator and our speakers today. Just a few closeout comments. This webinar was recorded and will be made available on the ASPPH website in the archived webinar section soon, along with a PDF of the PowerPoint slides. Please be sure to contact us with any additional questions and register for the next webinars in the ASPPH Presents series. We have 2 and potentially 3 coming up in the rest of this month. And lastly, please save the date for the 2017 ASPPH annual meeting and the 2017 Undergraduate Public Health and Global Health Education Summit taking place March 15th through 17th in Arlington, Virginia. This webinar is now adjourned. Thank you.